I, 34F, will be Ali and my GF of 1 year, 34F, will be Sunny. I wasn't looking for love when I met Sunny and I half expected it to fizzle out when we first started dating. To be clear, she's just out of my league. She's bubbly, outgoing, sweet, and popular in IWFH and have one true friend Beverly, F35. We started talking about moving in together and I was all on board. I currently live with Bev but she is thinking about moving in with her BF when our lease is up in November anyway, so the plan was for Sunny to move in with me after. Recently it's been a lot. My dad was diagnosed with cancer in January and then mom called to tell me that my grandfather passed suddenly of a heart attack in February, then in March my sister was in a horrible car accident. Things finally started to be somewhat calm since April but then Sunny went from very supportive and super sweet to quieter, and she put a screen lock on her phone, and in the past month she stopped leaving her laptop logged in. Her tablet now has a password, and she's been taking longer phone calls in her car or going out with friends longer. She's also just not been that affectionate. She's been intense, asking me 1,000 questions like just recently she's been weirdly asking me if I haven't introduced her to all my friends, and if there are friends she might not know about. I went out with friends one night and when I got home she asked me with who and then didn't know the names and asked why I never introduced her. I tend to be laid back, and I don't generally need to know where she is or who she is with all the time and she used to be the same. But this behavior made me wonder what might be going on. Then this past week, I noticed she and one of my friends Jason, M40, had been hanging out more. His name would pop up on her notifications while we are together, and she would turn the phone over or leave the room with her phone. Last night we were drinking and watching Netflix and she went to the bathroom and put her phone down but didn't lock it. I saw Jason's name pop up and I opened the messages. A lot of the conversations were deleted but he had messaged her, "Hey, Ali is acting weird. Does she know?" My heart sank. I just tried to focus on staying calm, knowing we both were drunk by this point. When she came back she saw me with her phone and asked, "What are you doing?" All alarmed. I handed the phone to her and asked if there was something she wanted to tell me and she just stared at me, so I made a bluff and said, "Hey, I know about you and Jason, so you want to tell me?" She sat down and just asked if I went through her phone. I asked her why it would bother her if she has nothing to hide. She asked me if I asked Jason and I just asked if they are having some sort of affair. She got really still and just quietly asked if that's what I thought and I explained everything I outlined here. I said that I've been cheated on by my ex-boyfriend and she's acting just like he was when I was starting to figure it out. Sunny offered for me to look through her phone but I said I know she deleted the conversation. When she asked what she can do to prove it to me that she not cheating, I really didn't have an answer. We sat there in silence for a while and I just got up and went to bed. Sunny didn't come to bed and when I got up this morning, it's clear she slept on the couch but she also wasn't there. I figured she went home, so I messaged her but she hasn't responded. Am I the odd for accusing her? She's acting so odd and this doesn't make sense. She knows cheating is a deal breaker for me. I've messaged Jason but he hasn't responded to me either and I am starting to question everything. Update 1. I managed to schedule in a late session with my therapist. I am in regular therapy due to past issues, and came up with some language A&D talking points when I got home. I also strategies with my roommate Bev. Bev said I shouldn't jump to conclusions and was behaving like Sunny is my scumbag ex and that isn't fair. I told her I am planning to give Sunny a chance to clear everything up. I called Sunny but she didn't answer, which Bev did bring up she could be working. She works odd hours as she works in the arts and we usually have a Google Calendar to keep up with each other's work hours and the like. I looked it up and she was scheduled to be working, so I sent her a text. The text essentially outlined what I said in my first post. That her behavior is not exactly above board, and the secretive nature of it lends to my questions. Specifically Jason's text that I saw in the deleted conversations. I said that if she's with Jason, then be with him, but don't jerk me around, it's cruel and manipulative. 2 things I would never expect her to be. I said I was well on my way to thinking I loved her and this has broken my heart, and the fact that she was not there when I woke up spoke volumes. I expect an explanation by EOD or I will simply put the few items I left over my place in a box at the front door for her to pick up and take to Jason's. I then texted Jason, and I admit this was not the plan. I was emotional and frustrated because Sunny saw my message and I could see her typing but then stopping and typing and stopping, and I was just wanting her to either explain herself or confess. So I texted Jason a similar message, explaining that I thought our friendship would be stronger than this and just because my GF is bi he had to take advantage. It wasn't fair of him as he knows my history with being cheated on and he knows how deeply it hurt me. I expected more from him and I intend to not sugarcoat it when our friends ask what happened to us. Well, Jason actually responded with suggesting we have brunch today. I woke up anxious about it. I would prefer her just confess over text, but now I have to deal with face to face. But I want to know what the fuck they were thinking and why, so here I am a full 30 minutes early, sitting in my car waiting for the shop to open. I really don't know what to expect and I haven't really had a chance to cry it all out yet. I have my job and at home Bev keeps saying I am overreacting and need to calm down and it's just irritating. I've had no quiet place to think and cry and just let it all out yet. I guess I will after brunch. Fingers crossed it will be brief and I can start moving on. Update 2. After my last I got out of my car and walked around for a moment to think and calm down. I took a suggestion from the comments and downloaded a voice recorder app on my phone and started recording before I got back to the shop. I walked in and Jason was there. With Sunny. As soon as I saw them sitting together I knew my relationship was over. So I said as much when I approached. I just said, "Oh, so we're over then," and Sunny stood up and started saying she can explain and that I didn't understand. I just laughed and mentioned that I did ask before what was happening and she didn't seem to want to explain, and that said enough. I rehashed everything: the locked devices, passwords, the shifty behavior, the deleted texts. She can't look me in the eye and tell me she's that stupid or thinks I am. Sunny just shrunk at that and didn't look me in the eye. That's what I thought I was saying and looked at Jason, but he just stared at me. He was calm and just asked me to please sit down, so I did and put my phone and keys on the table in front of me as if ready to leave at any moment. Jason said that he didn't reply to my text right away because Sunny had called hysterical and hung over saying I thought she was cheating, so he and Bev went over to Sunny's to calm her down and talk it out. He wanted Sunny to explain it, but she was too nervous after I had basically said she was just like my cheating ex. She figured I wouldn't believe a word she had to say. Apparently this was all a misunderstanding. I've had such a shit year that Sunny went to Jason, Bev, and a few other friends with the idea of making a huge deal of my 35th birthday, in August, as I have complained of never really having a party for my birthday I didn't somewhat plan, true. So she's been spending months planning this out. She rented out a local bar for the night of, invited my friends and swore them all to secrecy, ordered my favorite food for catering, decorations and the works. She said she started getting nervous the surprise would be ruined because we are always casually on each other's devices, so a friend suggested she delete the convos. She even showed me in the group chat she had with my friends with a timestamp of a few months back where that suggestion came from. They showed me the receipts for the rental for the bar, the pre-ordered catering, a photo booth etc. She said she uses Messenger, so she had to lock all her devices. Messenger was on so I wouldn't accidentally stumble on the surprise. She was asking about friends she hadn't met so she could include them and invite them to my party. She said she wanted it to be big, like almost an event. That she'd been stressing about money so she could earn enough extra to afford it. I asked her why she'd been so distant then and not very affectionate, and she looked confused and said she noted I was usually not in a great mood and didn't seem to want her to touch me a lot, so she was giving me space, and she figured after the party, where she then showed me the reservations of my surprised weekend in a vacation town not far from where we live, we would have time on the surprise vacation weekend to reconnect and reset. Jason then handed over his phone to show me the conversations that were deleted off Sunny's phone, and I looked them all over, taking my time to read everything. They all had to do with the party. He offered for me to scroll back as far as I liked as he had nothing deleted and nothing to hide, and I did scroll a lot. All the way to their first text. The "does she know" text was about the party, he said, because I seemed tense around him and he felt I was being cagey when he and I texted, which around the time I suspected him to be sleeping with my GF. At this point, I could see Sunny was holding back tears and she handed me her phone and again offered for me to look through every app if I wanted, but I said no. I didn't really know what to say from there because I frankly figured they were both there to confess to the affair. I rolled over everything in my head and just sat there silent. After a short while, when our food arrived, Jason asked if I had any questions and I said no. He asked me if I still thought there was an affair and I shook my head. My whole face felt hot and I just wanted to leave. He then asked me that since the cat was out of the bag about the party, if I wanted to be involved in the rest of the last minute planning, and I said no. Sunny started apologizing, saying she never thought I would think she was cheating. That she froze when I accused her because she was drunk and shocked. It had hurt her deeply that I really believed that, and she didn't know how to maintain secrecy of the party and keep me from breaking up with her, thinking she was shagging my friend. She said that she had never planned a surprise before and didn't want to ruin it. She asked me what I wanted to do or where we stood now, and I just stared at them, frozen. I just shrugged and didn't really look them in the eye, and we ate in relative silence. I paid our whole tab and left quickly while Sunny was in the bathroom. Jason asked if I wanted to wait until Sunny got back, but I didn't even answer and just rushed to my car and cried. I know I'm a coward and an ass. I have no idea how I am even going to face any of my friends because I saw in the group chat Sunny explain that I thought there was an affair and what she should tell me to not ruin the surprise. My friends Osley suggested she just tell me the truth, noting my past relationship and how broken I was after. It felt weird to see how they viewed me and how right they were, and now I just feel like an ass. I texted Sunny that we should probably talk one-on-one when we calm down, and she's replied that she really needs to take some time to breathe now that everything is out in the open. I said I understood and asked how long she needed and if we can maybe talk tomorrow, and she hasn't responded. Jason has since forwarded me some of the proof they showed me at brunch and just said, "Here if you need to talk," and nothing more. I know I need to apologize, but I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know how to fix this now, or how to make it up to Sunny or Jason. I can hear Bev moving around downstairs and I can't even face her. I'm still mad at her for not telling me the truth, but I know how unfair I am being. Now on to next story. Stepdaughter caught my wife cheating and kept it a secret to protect our bond, but now I'm left seething with anger and unsure of what to do next. My 47 meters stepdaughter, who we'll call Phoebe, lost her dad when she was 7. She remembers him as her hero, and I try to keep his memory alive for her as much as I can. My wife, 45F, and Phoebe's father were divorced when he passed away. I had met him a few times and always admired how much he loved his daughter. We had about 2 years of co-parenting before his passing, so I was there to support both Phoebe and my wife. It was a tough time for all of us. Phoebe was feeling isolated and confused, my wife was distressed, and I was devastated to see them both hurting. I did my best to provide support, even though we weren't wealthy. My main goal was never to replace her dad, so Elle was surprised when Phoebe started calling me dad when she was 13. It still warms my heart every time she says it. As the years went by, Phoebe and I grew closer and learned to navigate our unique family situation. About 6 months ago, my wife started pulling away. I thought it was just a midlife crisis, but looking back, it was clear signs of infidelity. She had late work projects, business trips, and seemed distant. She didn't even want intimacy. At the same time, I noticed Phoebe more anxious around her mother. She would avoid me and spend less time with me, which hurt, but I chalked it up to teenage angst. I tried talking to Phoebe, but she would avoid me and stay in her room or out late. She wouldn't even share about her day with me. That's when I realized something was really wrong. I snooped on our shared iPad and found messages from someone named Fiona. Turns out, Fiona is a 40-year-old man. I was feeling a mix of emotions, disgust, anger, and hurt. But one question kept nagging at me: why was Phoebe acting so strangely? The following evening, I was driving Phoebe to therapy when I decided to ask her about her feelings towards her mom working so much. This seemed to make her defensive. She raised her voice and insisted that she didn't care, that it was just work and everything was fine. We went back and forth for a couple of minutes until she finally asked me, "Do you know?" That's when she dropped the bombshell. Not only had my wife been cheating on me for 8 months, but Phoebe had caught her in the act. I felt betrayed, but that feeling quickly turned to rage when Phoebe explained why she hadn't told me. My wife had threatened her, saying it would be her fault if I left and never came back. As heartbreaking as that was, nothing could have prepared me for what Phoebe said next. "I'm sorry, really. I just didn't want to lose 2 dads. I don't think I could handle that again. Please don't leave, Daddy." I tried to hide my emotions, to reassure her that I wasn't going anywhere, but deep down, I was seething. Hurting me was one thing, but bringing my daughter into it was unforgivable. I wanted to scream, to cry, to see that woman suffer for what she had done to my daughter. But I knew, that wasn't an option. All I could do in the moment was reassure my girl. That's what I had to do. I haven't told my wife that I know. I don't know what to do next. I'm pissed. Update 1. The initial 6 hours proved to be quite tumultuous. Phoebe appeared noticeably tense and apprehensive, probably fearing her mother finding out. She clung to me, even going so far as to endure watching baseball, a sport she typically despises. Her conversations with her mother were marked by a hint of irritability, a behavior I chose not to address as I normally would. It seemed as though the dynamics of our relationship had shifted, with Phoebe now exhibiting the same volatile behavior that I had previously experienced. Gradually, she came to realize that she was in a safe environment, and began to relax her grip on me. However, her demeanor towards her mother remained curt. Phoebe and I had a chat about what she wants, and she expressed a desire for me to have full custody of her. She also opened up about some other emotional abuse she has endured from her mother. I assured her that I would do my best to gain full custody, but explained that since I never officially adopted her, I may only be able to get visitation rights. She also asked about emancipation, which I admitted I know very little about, so we decided to look into it together. I'm really hoping Phoebe can keep up her grades next year, as she's on track for a music scholarship to a good university. She's been spending a lot of time playing her violin since our chat, and I'm happy to see her using music as a way to cope. I'm not pushing her on school stuff right now since it's the end of the year and won't affect her GPA. I'm just hoping she can get back to her usual driven self by September. Phoebe is definitely not acting like your average teenager, but she's starting to show some of her old self again, which I'm grateful for. It made me so happy when she started teasing me again. However, I can't help but wonder if she's hiding her true feelings behind her jokes. She has a tendency to keep her emotions bottled up until she can't take it anymore. She hasn't said much besides feeling relieved about not hiding things from me anymore, so I'm not sure if I should be more concerned. As for my wife, I wish I could say I've stopped caring about her, but a part of me still loves her. I try not to dwell on those thoughts for too long because I believe the best thing for Phoebe is to get both of us away from her mother. I've been reflecting on my own childhood and how my feelings were often overlooked when my parents made decisions. I never want Phoebe to experience that same feeling, especially since she will be the one most affected by all of this. Phoebe is currently seeing 2 therapists, one specializing in CPTSD for events I haven't discussed here, and another specializing in OCD. I have faith that they will be able to support her through this challenging time. I'm in the process of looking for a lawyer, and I've been a bit distant with my wife lately. It feels strange to ask Phoebe to keep quiet about what I know, so I've decided not to bring it up. If she does end up talking about it, I won't hold it against her. I've been gathering evidence from texts and bank statements, and it turns out my wife spent around $8,500 on the other guy. I can't believe how clueless I was. Update 2. Phoebe took her life on June 17th. It feels like it's my fault. I can't believe her bright light is just gone. The day before was Father's Day, and Phoebe approached the topic of a possible adoption, or maybe emancipation with my wife. It soon turned into a fight, as her mother thought it would be a waste of time since Phoebe would have been 18 in a little over a year and a half. Phoebe kept arguing that it was for sentimental reasons and that she's wanted to be adopted by me for so long. I don't know if my wife was just paranoid, or if she already suspected that I knew about her cheating, but he began to get more hostile. My wife ended up saying something along the lines of, "You'd still have your real dad if you hadn't stressed him into doing drugs." That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Phoebe had a meltdown like I'd never seen before. She was cursing her mother out, crying, throwing things, and it was all just so out of character neither my wife or I knew what to do. The rest of the night was eerily quiet. Neither my wife or Phoebe pushed the matter any further. Phoebe cleaned up her mess, apologized to me for ruining my special day, and went upstairs. There was no warmth that night, no sit-down dinner, just silence. I guess we were all in shock. I'd love to say my last conversation with Phoebe was something positive, but it wasn't. I'd like to say I told her how much I love her, but I didn't. All I cared about was being reimbursed for the damages she'd caused during her meltdown. Maybe if I hadn't been so selfish I would have noticed how dejected she looked. Maybe if I'd handled the situation for what it was, a mental breakdown, instead of an act of defiance, she would still be here. But she isn't, and there's nothing I can do. I should have seen it coming. There were plenty of signs, I was just too stupid to see them for what they were until she didn't wake up. I could have gotten her more help, but I didn't. There were little things like, "Hey Dad, if I die make sure to play Dreaming of You at my funeral, and if I die before you, make sure I'm wearing a suit instead of a dress in my coffin," and the one that seems to be the most obvious, "Play at your best, you are love, at my funeral for my girlfriend please." I thought those were just distasteful jokes most teens make. I've never been so stupid in my life. The days leading up to her funeral are a blur, I barely managed to pull myself together the day of. I was so angry at my wife, and also at Phoebe. I was angry because I wish I would have listened to her obvious pleas. I was angry at myself for not being approachable enough. I made sure all of her requests were fulfilled. She was lowered into the ground with Dreaming of You playing on a speaker. I hadn't cried the entire day until then. Perhaps I should have chosen one of the other songs she requested, because that one broke the stoic demeanor I was trying to convey. I guess it was both the tragedy behind the artist that my daughter held so near to her heart, and the realization that Phoebe's really gone. As she was being lowered, it was just my wife, myself, Phoebe's girlfriend, and a few other very close people. The music was a respectable volume though somehow deafening. That's it. She was just gone. Her girlfriend was not handling it well, and she disappeared shortly after the reception following the burial. I felt terribly for her though I couldn't bring myself to say anything, which is another thing I regret. I'm starting the process to divorce my wife. I can't look at her without having flashbacks to the look on Phoebe's face when my wife said those horrible things. There is no recovering from this. That girl meant the world to me, and now it seems like there's no point to doing anything. My wife can take all our assets for all I care.